I think my problem or my perception of one of the problems that a lot of liberals have is that there's not a great connection to fundamental values or principles or a vision of like a better world anymore. I think a lot of liberals have come to the conclusion or came to the conclusion at some point that their job is a fundamentally somewhat conservative, tepid maintenance of a status quo that isn't really pleasing anybody. I used Ezra Klein as the example of this kind of person. He's asked by Ross Douthat, what is the vision of a good life that you're trying to aim us towards? And Ezra Klein says, I'm a liberal. To kind of dismiss that kind of question as if we can excuse ourselves from having to answer questions of meaning or belief or purpose in life just because we think that the government shouldn't be telling you everything that you're supposed to be doing.
When conservatives were demanding liberals to denounce the violence on Charlie Kirk and from the left, Destiny was the one that stepped forward and said, no, I don't think we should denounce it until the Republicans have denounced it first. Until the Republicans have demanded that Trump denounce it first, because he has the loudest voice, he can lower the temperature the most. I don't think the liberals should ever denounce it.
I think that just comes off as really bitter. I feel like I can imagine the reaction to that from probably his fans were, like, oh, based. Like, I feel like that just comes off as like bitter to me though. I'm not really sure that comes off as like tit for tat, frankly. I think that just comes off as kind of bitter.
I discovered you only through lib&learn-ish, like when people like Hutch, Pisco, and all the other lib&learn content creators were covering you. But it seems like you've been doing videos for quite a while. Like, when did you start content creation? Like, when did you start doing it? What got you into it? Who were you inspired by?
I only seriously started this year, in like February of this year. I have had my channel for a while, but before February of this year, I still had the channel and I had been uploading, but I had taken like an 8-month break from uploading just because it was, I don't know, I just was doing it more as like a hobby. But around February of this year, I started taking it a little more seriously and started uploading more regularly.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I would say.
Did you have somewhat of a blow up or something? Like, I'm looking at your videos.
I had a couple of videos that did relatively well. I had the political archetypes video, I think is my most successful video. I'm not sure what it's at now. I think it's over 200,000.
Yeah, because I see it like a year ago, and this one called Conservatives Accuse Kamala Harris of Marxist Witchcraft, and it's like 568 views. And then I look at your much more recent videos, and you're hitting like 21,000, 31,000, 40,000 on the regular. So honestly, good job. It seems like you're hitting the algorithm.
It's
you're
been
doing
a
pretty
slow
well.
and steady growth over the last, well, I guess slow and steady. I don't know. My channel was about half the size that it is now, like a couple months ago, like probably like 3 months ago. Like it was like, I don't know. I hit 10,000 subscribers like 2 months ago, I think.
Holy shit, yeah. You know what? I kind of relate with what you just said. Because I also took a hiatus of like around 3 months. And I think I was like, oh my God, this content creation thing is like stressing me out. It's stressing me out way too much. I'm getting burnt out. I'm like uploading every day or something like that. And I was like, I can't do it anymore, okay? And then I think it was January and February, I think I began to defend Destiny. And then from that point onwards, I'm not going to dive into it, don't worry, okay? From that point onwards, I got a blow up, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to take this a lot more seriously, and then that's how I moved on to my current streaming career, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, streaming is something I'm really new to. I've only been doing it for, gosh, like a month at this point, on November 30th. So yeah, exactly a month I've been streaming. So it's very new to me, but it's interesting. It's a different environment. I never watched any streams really, like before doing my own. Like I have watched the occasional like re-uploaded stream on YouTube, but I was never like a Twitch user unless like one of my friends wanted me to watch their Twitch stream or something like that. So it's new to me. Everything live is new to me, and I'm not very good at it yet. It's okay. I'm working on improving over time, hopefully.
Yeah, you can always hit me up. I got some tips. So yeah, you're fine. But anyhow, you haven't told me what inspired you or who inspired you to get into content creation. Do you know if there's a role model in which you're like, oh my God, this is my primary content creator. I really like their videos and this is what got me into it?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint one person that like inspired me to get into making videos. I've always been interested in politics. And frankly, I think if I could get away with it, I would just write. I don't really love making videos like for the sake of making videos, but it feels like nobody reads anymore. And so it feels like if you
Nobody.
have something to say, you have to make videos. And so that's why I started making videos really. And then I've watched YouTube just forever. So it's hard for me to even say like what YouTuber, I guess, inspired me to get into it. I don't know. It's been so long.
I guess
But
it's
then
like
I just sort of grew
non-specific.
up watching YouTube, I guess.
Okay,
And
I
so
see. I
you
see.
know, but I've
Yeah.
watched all the big like video essay people, like Big Joel. I watched a lot of Big Joel like
Okay.
over the years, and I watched a lot of oh gosh, all the big ones from that one era with like H Bomber
RedTube?
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
RedTube,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
they were a lot of those people were further to the left than me, but
Mm.
I liked their content. ContraPoints was always making really high quality
Yeah,
stuff,
I
I
love
feel like.
ContraPoints.
Yeah, all those people. I mean, I watched all those people. They did a lot of like cultural criticism stuff, which is not exact. I mean, I talk about culture occasionally, but it's not really my primary thing. I talk a lot more about like history and sort of try and do a mix of history and current affairs.
Okay, I see. I see. How did you get integrated into the space? I mean, the live and learn space. Like, is
The
it
live and
just
learn
simply
space?
because they reached out to you first, or like, how did you get
Yeah, I think
into live and
Hutch
learn in the first place?
I
Yeah.
think Hutch saw one of my videos,
Okay.
and I believe he saw the one that I made about Ezra Klein, and then
Yeah.
he sent me a DM on, or did I send him a DM? I can't remember. I think I saw that he followed me on Twitter, which I always notice it whenever people follow me on Twitter because I don't really use Twitter, and so
Mm-hmm.
whenever someone like finds me on Twitter, I know that they were
Looking for you
looking for me.
specifically. Yeah.
But I saw him, and then that's funny, and then I looked at his stream and I saw that he was like actively watching my video. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember if I DM'd him first or if he DM'd me first, but that's how I got on lib&learn. And then also I know Soypill as well. He shouted me out at the end of one of his videos.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's great. Okay. I'm always like thinking to myself, oh my God, what are these other liberal content creators doing? Like, how are they like getting around? How are they like maneuvering the space, right? It's as much as a mystery to me as to anybody else, because it's like, because I watched a video recently on why liberal content creators never get off the ground. Why is it that they suck or whatever? And I don't think the answer is really just as simple as, oh, they don't have enough bots boosting them. I think the answer is also like, there might be some entertainment quality of it that might be missing, maybe, as well as some maybe viewer engagement of some other sort, or maybe people aren't just like listening enough. It's interesting because I watched that video and I've been thinking a lot about why there are just so many more conservative content creators that are so much more successful. And if you watch somebody like Tim Pool or another one of these content creators, you'll notice that they are very theatric. They're theater kids. Like they're very very expressive.
It's like literally
they're
true
very
for a lot of
dramatic.
the Daily Wire people. Like
Yeah.
a lot of them they were actors before they
Ben
became
Shapiro's actually a theater kid. Have you watched Ben Shapiro sing Les Mis? Les Mis or
I have
you
not.
seen that?
I like that musical though.
It's interesting because you have the book in your background. I'm taking it that you're a fan, big fan of Les Mis.
I really like the musical. Yeah, the book is sort of to represent the musical. Unfortunately, I have not actually read the book, but the book is sort of there to represent the musical.
I'll send you the video of Ben Shapiro essentially doing an entire song.
That's funny. What character
from Les
did you
Mis.
play? What character?
I don't
Do you know what
know.
song?
I'm sorry. I don't know anything about the play. Okay, nothing. Okay, but he is
I saw
good
it this year.
at
I saw
singing.
it at, oh, is he really?
Yes, Ben Shapiro's unironically good at singing.
I think
Yeah.
he was plays violin or something too, right? Or he did whenever he was younger, or he was some sort of musical prodigy, I believe.
Yeah, because I began to think about that more, because I'm trying to theorize like, why is it that we just never lift off the ground? It's just that I think we're just boring, you know.
Could be.
I think liberal commentators, because when I look at liberal commentators, I'm like, these guys are a bunch of book virgins. Okay, these guys open a book and all they want is to read, and listen to things in the background and not absorb any information while they're playing a video game. Okay, look, all right. you have to be dramatic, okay? Every single time you tune to Candace Owens, you know that there is some fucking bonkers shit that is about to say, okay? The entertainment quality is more important than the factual quality of it or the integrity of the show. And I think that when I see, like, if you look at all of these popular conservative content creators, I'm like, wow, these people are actually immensely entertaining. But then I look at, okay, no offense, okay? Listen, you don't have to comment on this. Do not comment on this, okay?
Okay.
I look at Hutch, all right? And then I look at Pisco, and I look at Ezra Klein. And I can't help but feel that my eyes are closing. You know, my eyelids are slowly drooping down, and the curtain is falling on my day, okay? That's what I feel as though is happening, you know?
The Ezra Klein stuff is interesting because it's definitely not designed for it's not mass audience content. Even just looking at the guests that he has, you know, they're not always, I mean, sometimes he does get some kind of mass appeal guests, but like, for instance, a recent video I made was talking about national conservatism, and a lot of the footage that I was reacting to came from an interview that Ezra Klein had with Yoram Hazony, who is a big national conservative, kind of the godfather of that ideology, I guess is what I would say. And, you know, that's very interesting, and that's a very valuable conversation for someone in Ezra Klein's position to have, I think. But
right, he does a different kind of content, right?
Appeal.
Sorry, Ezra Klein's not the right example to compare because he is like generally more of a podcast bro, right? Like he's a liberal podcast bro. He's a liberal podcast bro. He's a liberal podcast bro. Okay. However, if I look at somebody like Josiah, right, Pondering Politics, right, I think that as much as I like Josiah and as great as I think his blow up was, right, adding a new liberal voice into the mix, I think that we just need a little bit of drama, you know, dramatic flair. All right, not actual drama, not actual drama. All right, like as in everybody's tearing each other apart. Okay, I mean like at least take some acting lessons, you know, at least like learn how to talk in iambic pentameter, you know, like you need to be able inflect every other syllable, so then you are enunciating as if you're speaking as a character on the stage. Otherwise, you're like, yeah, that's wrong. Utah has like 400,000. Please get a rope now. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think my problem, or my perception of one of the problems that a lot of liberals have, and this is sort of the thesis from my Ezra Klein video, is that there's not a great connection to fundamental values or principles or a vision of like a better world anymore. Unfortunately, I think a lot of liberals have come to the conclusion or came to the conclusion at some point that their job is a fundamentally somewhat conservative, tepid maintenance of a status quo that isn't really pleasing anybody. I think, unfortunately, a lot of liberal content, I shouldn't say liberal content creators, I don't watch enough like content creator type people to know
That's fine.
what the general disposition is among that crowd. But among a lot of elite liberals, certainly. I mean, I used Ezra Klein as the example of this kind of person. You know, he's asked by Ross Douthat, you know, what is the vision of a good life that you're trying to aim us towards, Ezra Klein? And Ezra Klein says, you know, I'm a liberal. You know, to kind of dismiss that kind of question as if we can excuse ourselves from having to answer questions of meaning or belief or purpose in life just because we think that the government shouldn't be telling you everything that you're supposed to be doing. Or trying to force you into a particular box.
So just to clarify, you mean like what is the meaning behind the word liberal, right? Like what does that mean?
Are you asking me, or are you?
I'm asking. Well, I'm saying this is where the problem is, right? Like people cannot. There's no unified message behind. There's no drive. There's no push behind the word liberal, right? Like you think of the word liberal, and there really is no like big motivation. Like at least when it comes to populism, right? It's that we have to eat the rich, or we have to cause fascism to come back. Maybe we need to go back to the good old days, right? There is a very strong goal here, right? Like there is a very big primary objective to be achieved here. But then when I think of liberalism, it's like, oh, maintain the status quo of the United States being the hegemonic power with USA idea and stuff, right? Which is great. I fully support that, by the way. However, the message is just makes me sleep, you know?
Well, I think the question is to what end, right? And too many liberals are not interested in answering the question of to what end. You know, it's all great to talk about, you know, maintaining the United States' position and maintaining our institutional stability. Great. But it's hard to motivate people without an end. You know, at one point, liberalism was a revolutionary ideology, literally. I mean, there were revolutions to create liberal societies. And they did not have in mind the end of just like technocratic maintenance. I don't think, anyway. Whenever I read like people like Thomas Paine or Benjamin Rush, any of these like people who are very strident in their defense of liberal ideals in a time whenever liberalism was not just the status quo, they're aiming for a world that is about...
What was their message?
Well, I suppose there's, I guess, two parts to that question. There was their message against the established order of the time, which was that all this entrenched privilege of
so a form of
the aristocratic...
populism, right? A little bit of populism.
A little bit of populism, for sure. I mean, whenever Thomas Paine was writing Common Sense, he says, of more worth to mankind is one honest man than all the crowned ruffians who ever lived. Right. And that's a populist message, right? I mean, that is it's essentially a populist message. So they were communicating in populist ways, but they also had an idea of what a good world looked like beyond just sort of maintenance of the status quo. They believed in a world where a free government would allow people to pursue, self-excellence, in a world where people could follow their ambition and create a better future for mankind generally. And they believed in things like equality as well. And, the classic triptych from the French Revolution was liberty, equality, and fraternity. Another thing that I think liberals often slack on is the idea of having any sort of cohesion between people. That's another question that I think is too often written off by liberals, but it's not something that was historically written off. There was a very big focus by liberals in that era on how do we bring people together? How do we forge like a national community that is strong and makes sense?
What's your solution for it? I want to hear your idea.
For national identity?
As a driver for a unified liberal movement, like if you were in charge of the PR, of the modern day liberal movement.
I think step one is just accepting that liberalism is more than just trying to bail out the sinking ship.
Right.
Because this is a fundamentally conservative disposition. Something is not working. Defending the system as it exists is a fundamentally conservative disposition. Even, to say that it's too dangerous to change things. Because
kind of, right? Yeah, I mean it's kind of a conservative disposition. I mean it's inherently, you want to maintain the status quo, and that's where the conservatism comes from, but actual conservatives, right, of today would say, no, we need to bring it back to the 1950s, right? We need to bring it back then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you're already on your back foot as a liberal if you're talking about preserving, I guess, things that people aren't happy with, that aren't working.
Right.
And I think at some level there's got to be some amount of respect for democracy and what the people are saying, and I think that people are saying that they're not happy.
Yeah, but there isn't. There is no respect for democracy these days. I think people like to talk about how much they want to respect the Constitution and democracy in general as like values that are important,
I mean, like, what I'm trying to say is when people are saying that they're not happy with the way things are working, liberals ought to listen rather than say just we need to.
Well, that depends, right? Like that really depends on because what is the goal of listening if you don't even have any good answer to give them, right? Like let's just say that.
Well, what's an answer? What's a question that you think liberals don't have a good answer to?
Okay, sure. So like, hypothetically, let's just say that you tell a liberal, okay, you need to listen to this person. Okay, so the liberal goes in and he listens to like this, let's just say this family who is dissatisfied with the ways that the Democrats have been running things. Okay, let's just say they say, oh yeah, well, what about inflation? What about Biden inflation? What about that, huh, bitch? All right, and then are you really going to try to say, well, actually, inflation has been rising across the world over that period of time, and COVID really brought up things a lot, and blah, blah, blah. Or they're going to turn their brains off. They're not going to listen to that.
No, you shouldn't do that. That would be a very bad communication strategy.
So what would how would you talk to them?
Well, it's policy. I mean, that's you have to make an argument for a policy program to bring.
Okay, so you're probably talking about something like, oh, this is why I support door knocking for a senator. Okay, like insert white person name here, and then go like they support this policy of insert writing up this bill that introduces some kind of X and Y, right? Whatever. No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's just that that is just less powerful sounding than something like, we need to overthrow the entire system. Populism needs to take charge. Everything needs to come crashing down. And we need to seize something by the balls, okay, and twist them, okay? All right, we need to grab the right nutsack.
Pretty
okay?
serious. I think there does need to be pretty serious reform, and I don't think that we should be shy about saying it. I mean, I think that we need to take aggressive action on things.
Yeah, but how do you get people interested in policy again like that? Like, because right now there's a populism brain rot like going on in the country right now. I don't know. Listen, I don't know how much.
You have to speak in ways that aren't talking about, annual GDP growth.
I have this true. Okay, right. So exactly, which is why I think people should speak less like a white person and more like a black person. Okay, let me explain. All right.
I don't even know what that means.
You need to tap into your inner hood. All right. You need to tap into your inner hood. You need to be like, man, you know how crazy these fucking whack ass Republicans are? These motherfuckers, these ninjas. They don't know anything about anything. They need to get the fuck out. All right. Bam. Oh my god, now automatically everybody understands. Well, like, do you really want to sound like some white professor and go like, vote for representative blah 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 for bill blah blah. Oh my god. Dude, look, okay, that's why I've been saying there needs to be an entertainment flair, okay? There has to be something. I'm not even talking specifically about black people or whatever, right? Like, I'm just saying even because Tim Pool, okay? Tim Pool is like, he's not black. Okay, but he's got that theater kid energy. Okay, Candace Owens is black. She sounds like a white person, but she's still entertaining, right? So yeah, I don't know. That's just the way I kind of think about it, right? But yeah,
I think liberals definitely need to be more aggressive with their rhetoric and more.
What do you mean by that? Elaborate.
We can say, populism bad, and that's fine. I wish that we had a society where we could communicate with everybody by, having a reasonable informed debate. I'm not
reasonable
certain
informed debate. It's easy, okay? It's real. Look, it's really easy, okay? Ryan, I got the solution, okay?
Okay.
I got the keys, okay? The keys. You go up to a family and you go, do you consume pornography? Because guess what? That's what the Republicans are trying to take away from you. Pornhub.com.
True.
The Republicans are trying to take away xvideos.com and pornhub.com, okay? They're going to start in Texas, and then it's going to spread throughout the Midwestern states, okay? The last bastion of pornography will be the liberal states, okay? Do you really want these damn libtards to be the last ones to grab a hold on the monopoly on the porn industry? All the Republican men would then be like, oh my porn, and then they'll be like, oh my god, we gotta get these goddamn darn it saved, and then they're gonna like save a bunch of videos, okay? But I think that you really need to tap into the core of the American psyche, okay, which is porn, okay? It's porn, obesity, heart disease, cancer, aiming a shotgun at random kids playing outside your house. You need to tap into, what I'm saying is that people don't care about policy anymore. I think that people have a mentality of entertainment. I think because look at Gavin Newsom. Why is he making so many waves, right? Look, I don't even care what policies Gavin Newsom has. Look at me, okay? You think that I care what policies Gavin Newsom has? Hell fucking no, okay? This guy is making Trump tweets, okay? This guy is making the liberal version of Trump tweets, and that's all I care about, okay? And then bam, he got all of his popularity from that, and he got Proposition 50 passed. It's like, wait, maybe there's something we can learn from this. You're telling me that Gavin Newsom is able to deliver policy and actual legislation through the lenses of being a gigachad? I think that you need to re-examine the way that you're delivering these things, basically, is like my opinion.
Well, maybe I've miscommunicated a little bit, because I agree that what Gavin Newsom's doing is good. I think that that's the type of thing that we should be seeing more of.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I miscommunicated.
Sorry, is that what you mean? Is that what you mean by aggro? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think that we need to all be speaking like 18th century, classical liberals or something in order to recapture people's attention. That seems to be a
no. Oh my gosh, no! What? No!
I don't think that would be a winning strategy.
I want people to wake up, not fall asleep more. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think people being more entertaining, more aggressive. I think it's important to recognize that, as much as I talked about Ezra Klein in that video and the things that I disagree with him on, he has an interesting point that he makes sometimes where he says it's not what you say about the policies, it's what the policies say about you. And I think that's a really
That sounds
important thing.
cheesy. Sorry, go ahead.
But it's absolutely true. I mean, think about the things that Trump is known for, his policies. Build the wall, tariffs, being vaguely isolationist, anti-immigrant. Like, these are the things that he's known for. And they're not super complicated. He's not spending all his time talking about how each individual policy position is going to work, because that's not actually what people care about. What they care about is what the policies say about him. And what they say about him is that he is anti-immigrant and he is expressing, even though it's completely misguided, he's expressing concern about the economy with the tariffs.
Yes.
Even though it's totally ridiculous to expect tariffs to help the economy.
Yeah.
Your average voter does not know how tariffs work.
They do not.
To them, it reads as expressing concern about the economy. I'm also concerned about the economy. I trust him on this issue. Build the wall. Obviously building a wall is not going to bring.
Well, let's be honest, right?
About.
Well, again, Donald Trump is entertaining, right? I think that when he puts out policies that he wants passed, it does indicate to the American people, it's a virtue signal, right? It's a virtue signal to the American people that is telling them, I am anti-establishment, I am anti-brown people, I am anti-liberals, and he manages to deliver all that stuff in the simplest way possible, right? For example, instead of elaborating on 50 trillion policy talking points, instead what he does is, it's very simple: build a wall, keep the brown people out, keep the caravans out, the caravans are coming, keep the drugs out, right? These are all things that you don't need to teach, the average American voter to understand, like tariffs, right? Even when it comes to tariffs, you're basically painting yourself as the ultimate victim, right? You're saying, oh, these other countries have been taking advantage of us, right?
That's right.
It's all virtue signal. It's all virtue signal to the American voter about what your actual beliefs are, right? Like, one might even say it's a dog whistle, right? It's kind of a dog whistle, because it's like, well, what do you actually mean when you say that you want to call like an emergency down at the southern border and get all the military troops to go into every single town and round up immigrants and shit like that? What are you actually indicating, right? You're indicating that if you're brown, you're not welcome in this country. And there is a lot of people who are racist on the inside and the outside who are just going, in their mind, this is the right way. Because when I look at brown people, I'm reminded of poo. And I don't like the color of poo. So therefore, I don't like it when they're around. It's as simple as that, right? Yeah.
I think the point about his general policy positions, such as we can call them, they're not really policy positions, they're slogans. I mean, really, slogans, that's probably more.
But he's putting the slogans into actual policy. Like, the slogan itself is the actual policy, right?
Yeah.
Build the wall. And then they build the wall. It's not like an informed legislation about like, oh, well, it's a wall of bureaucratic offices in order to, get people in through the country and then get them out like quicker or faster or slower or whatever, right? It's a literal fucking wall. They're thinking of a brick wall. They're thinking of a concrete wall. That's what they're thinking of, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but what that communicates to voters is that he does not like immigrants.
Yes.
And that appeals to voters that don't like immigrants, even if the policy itself doesn't make sense. And so that's sort of what I'm trying to say, is that instead of trying to communicate about policy, liberals should be communicating through policy.
Okay.
And so we need to think, and so sort of to tie it back into your question of, what would you say to a voter who's concerned about inflation? I think you would need to find a way to communicate that you're concerned about inflation in the same way that voters are. You need to somehow communicate that your priorities are aligned with the voter on this issue that's important to them.
Right.
And I won't pretend that I can look into the future and see like what exact words a politician needs to say in order to convince a voter that they're on the same page about inflation. But the idea of being able to communicate through policy rather than saying, well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what the Federal Reserve is doing. And then we're going to take a look at how we can do targeted tariffs to, you're already losing people. You just need to say in a few words something that communicates to the voter that your priorities are aligned on the issue of inflation with them. And so I think we saw some of this with the recent elections, all in their own way. Mamdani, Cheryl, and Spamberger, they talked about, affordability is such a buzzword these days, but they talked about rising costs. And, I feel like a typical liberal reaction that I saw to like the freeze the rent thing was to talk about how rent control is not an economically optimal policy, which is true. That is true. But what freeze the rent says is I am concerned about rent being too expensive to voters. And that is why that is a very effective thing to say.
Yes. Yeah.
To maybe point to some other examples, Cheryl, I think it was Cheryl, talked a lot about how data centers were raising the cost of electricity. And that seemed to be a very effective talking point for her. That seemed to be like a very effective talking point for her. I may be confusing her with Spamberger. That maybe they both talked about it, to be honest. That's an issue in a lot of places. Data center construction and usage raising the price of electricity. That's something that's tangible. It's visible. People can see these giant buildings being built. And there's theoretically some action that can be taken there. You know what I think?
I think that in addition to modern democratic politicians taking a lesson in some kind of video making or adjusting your fucking mic quality, right? Learning not to speak on the studio setups of all these right-wing commentators are amazing. In addition to that, I think they should learn marketing, right? Like how to market these things better. You need something that can show for it. You need to have maybe some physical manifestation of some policy that is able to show for it. Having just economic numbers be the end-all be-all of a policy is probably not sexy enough, right? You have to make something sexy enough. You have to make something appealing enough optically to the eyes, right?
That's
because
true.
With the wall, you see the wall and you're like, that's the wall. But then you see something like child tax credit and you're like, I don't see jack shit. Whereas I'm not saying that you can't really build anything there in the first place, but there has to be some way. There has to be some way, right? There has to be some way. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that's just
no, absolutely. I mean, I think a big mistake.
There has to.
I mean, it's always talked about, but Trump literally putting his name on the stimulus checks. I mean, that was a big thing for a lot of people.
Really? Yeah, true.
Yeah, and Democrats need to learn to take credit, I think, whenever they do things, or at least get the message out that they are doing things, or do things in a way that is visible to people.
I think they should take credit. If there's any way for them to steal credit, do it. You should, right? Like, for example, they did it for the shutdown, but in the opposite direction, right?
Epstein files stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, they blame the Republicans for the shutdown, and you know what? You should do that more, right? Because even though technically, it was the Democrats that, in a way, triggered the shutdown by doing all that shit, right? But at the same time, you can say, no, it was they made us do something we did not like to do. Like they are the ones that did this. By that logic, they are the ones that did.
Yeah,
that,
well,
right?
I mean, the Republicans had the votes at any point to end the filibuster. The filibuster is a Senate rule, and it would take only 51 votes to get rid of it. They could have ended the shutdown at any time, but they're so attached to this procedural rule.
They're probably saving the filibuster in the future when Democrats are back in power and they need to block some shit again.
They shouldn't, because I think Democrats should get rid of it as soon as they're back in power. The filibuster is a ridiculous thing, and it's.
But I heard. See, it's interesting you brought up the filibuster because I actually heard a debate between Josiah and Hutch. They were talking about whether or not they should get rid of the filibuster, and one of the things they talked about was, well, the filibuster seems to be being shaved off the edges constantly, right? Like they seems to be shaving the filibuster, making exceptions constantly for it over the years. So if that's going to be the end result, right? And if you're making exceptions whenever the Republicans want something to get passed, but you're not really making all the exceptions in the world whenever Democrats want something to get passed, maybe it isn't really playing out for us, right? So you might as well rip off the Band-Aid. And, again, I agree with Josiah more on this in the sense that I think it'll be best to get rid of it, rip off the Band-Aid, make sure it's not weaponized against us in the future, make sure it's a clean battle, right? And I think that sure, messaging is important, but and I understand Hutch's concern with how the Republicans may be inspired to move against us once we start messaging for that. But I feel as though they are ready to do all these things already.
I don't think that anyone should message on it. I don't think that anyone everyone should
sorry,
be
yeah, I mean,
campaigning on. I
well,
think that's. I
once
think that
once
would be a
once
horrible thing to
the
campaign on.
sorry,
You
once the
should be
Republicans get
campaigning
the
on the
gist,
things
right?
that you do
Once they get the
after
gist of it,
you.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, you should be campaigning on the things that you're going to do after you eliminate the filibuster. You should say, we're going
Yeah.
to eliminate the filibuster and then ensure that every American, you should say, we're going to ensure that every American has access to healthcare. And then you eliminate the filibuster and ensure that every American has access to healthcare.
You're right.
You should say, we're going to fix the Supreme Court, and then you eliminate the filibuster and for the love of God, at the very least, install some sort of code of ethics for the Supreme Court so they can't be, basically taking bribes from people. You should say, we're going to rein in the president. And then you should break the filibuster and then tell the president, no, you actually can't just bomb random ships in the Caribbean. You should campaign on the things that you're going to do after you eliminate the filibuster. And then you should kill it because it's a stupid procedural thing, especially in the way that it's existed since the 70s, where you don't even have to stand up and speak. It's not even the old classic Mr. Smith goes to Washington thing anymore. They just say that they are going to filibuster, and because of reforms that were made to Congress in the 70s, it just puts the brakes on all legislation. And I don't think that that's, I don't think it's a coincidence that since that era, we've seen Congress decline in importance as an institution. Because how can an institution be important if it can never do anything? In this same time, we've seen the power of the president increase, and we've seen the power of the courts increase. And in principle, I think that
but then I agree with you. And also, you know a lot more than I do on what is to be considered good messaging and like messaging planning and strategizing, right? I think that, however, wouldn't you think it's also true that the courts are also giving up a lot of power to the presidency as well when they passed?
For sure they are. But
Yeah.
it's coming. It's all coming at the expense of Congress. Congress, for instance, since I mentioned the Venezuela thing, Congress ultimately, at least according to the Constitution, is the branch that should have the power to make war, to declare war.
Right.
That has essentially been a power that has been removed from Congress, both because Congress itself has passed legislation that deprives itself of power, and because successive presidents and successive courts have reinforced that decision and refused to make Congress do their job. But it's impossible for Congress to do their job, really, whenever you need 60 votes in the Senate to do anything of substance. And really, I mean, and this is more of a philosophical thing, I think Congress is the most representative branch of government. At any time in Congress, all the closest thing that we can get in American politics to all perspectives being represented. Even the majority party, even the minority party in Congress still has seats on the committees, still has their voice heard to an extent. It's the most representative branch that we have. Whereas the presidency,
it should.
Yeah, only one half of the country, sometimes even less than half of the country is being represented in the presidency at any given time, and the courts aren't representative at all. And so, just on the basis of Congress being the most representative body, I think it should be the most powerful branch, or at least we should at least have a system that's actually co-equal. We always talk about the importance of having co-equal branches, but we don't really have co-equal branches anymore.
If we could push a button and change the world, I would have a parliamentary government. You can criticize parliamentary governments for a lot of things, but if you really want to have representation be at the core of everything, I don't know. That's probably good, but now is already too late for us to change any of that, and nor will we ever get the chance to.
I think just eliminating the filibuster would be a great step in that direction, because
I agree.
You actually enable Congress to do stuff. Whenever you need 60 votes in the Senate to do anything, it's just, it makes a mockery of the idea of Congress being a body,
the voice of the people, the will of the people, right? So much for the will of the people. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So let me move subjects a little bit. Okay. So, by the way, how long do you have?
I can go for however long you want.
Okay. All right. I'll try to.
At some point, I'll get tired, I'm sure.
I don't.
I'm happy to chat.
I don't want to keep you up too much. Okay. Because listen, I've got so many questions on my mind. I consider you to be the superior intellectual force in politics. Okay.
I appreciate it. That's very nice.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these older boomer liberal content creators like Hutch, okay, they look up to you, okay, because
I don't think so. I think if Hutch is looking up to me, he's got his eyes pointed in the wrong direction.
No,
he's much bigger. He's much bigger than I am.
No, I value your opinions more than Hutch's.
Okay.
I just want to make that clear. Right. So Another thing is, I'm sure you agree that we have to appeal to the moderates in some degree. However, it seems as though in order to appeal to the moderates, you have to argue that, oh, well, what if the left needs to be complacent, the left needs to be more complacent in their messaging, and they need to like denounce the violence, they need to do this and that, blah 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 blah, in order to gain the support, the possible support of moderates. In my personal opinion, that is the wrong move to have, because moderates at this point, if you're still a moderate after more than 10 years of Trump, I think that you have not been paying attention. In addition to not paying attention, I think that you have an ego, you're an asshole, I don't like you, we're never going to be friends, and I hope you rope, okay? In the video game,
Here's
okay?
the thing about moderates.
So what is your opinion? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing about like moderates,
Yeah.
is people imagine moderate is almost like the wrong term to use for undecided voters, because they aren't usually actually moderate. There's I wish I could remember off the top of my head.
But that's part of the problem, right? Yeah.
They have a lot of times what's more accurate to say about undecided voters is they're sort of ideologically incoherent. They don't pay much attention to politics. They don't think about politics all that much. They call themselves moderate because it's sort of received wisdom in American life that being moderate is like a good thing to be. You know, like people say
No,
like,
but
oh
because,
yeah, like
because because you look like the person that looks at both sides and you can see the pluses of both sides, and you're able to differentiate and you're able to feel superior. You get to talk to people. You get to go like, I'm actually a moderate. See, I see both sides for what they are.
Exactly.
But the thing is that you have Dunning-Kruger, okay? You are the definition of Dunning-Kruger. No, this is literally the definition of Dunning-Kruger, right? Because of your lack of knowledge, you're unable to take a stance, and you think that your opinion is superior to everybody else who knows more, right? So this is Dunning-Kruger, literally,
politics
right?
Isn't all that important, or they just don't think politics is all that important. You know, they're not interested. It stresses them out, so they don't consume much information about politics. I know a lot of people like that. You know, there's all sorts of reasons that people are undecided voters, and almost none of them have to do with being the kind of moderate that people think about in like elite discourse.
Yeah, they're moderately retarded.
I know precious few people. Precious few people who, you know, actually are, you know, they've looked at both sides and they have come to have some sort of moderate synthesis on the issues. I know precious few people that are like that. Most people who think about politics a lot can pretty easily be sorted into a basically liberal or basically conservative camp. That's just a fact of American politics.
Exactly. Yeah.
Undecided voters, for the most part, are ideologically incoherent. And the problem with thinking of them as one group is by appealing to one part of ideological voters, of undecided voters, you might be making another part of them mad, because these two groups of undecided voters don't necessarily agree. And so I guess to bring it back to your original question of what we do about these people, that sounds vaguely threatening. I don't mean it like that.
No, you should. No, you should. You should. Okay, fuck these guys.
How we win these people over. And you win them over with strong narrative. I think that's how you win them over. You win them over with strong narrative.
I actually kind of agree with that, actually. I was gonna say the correct answer is your goal should never be to try to win them over. You should try to make it more of a side benefit if you could do it, right? But your goal should always be to turn out your base in order to go and vote, because there are people who are already on your side and they don't need any convincing in order to vote for your side, right? So why would you waste valuable time trying to convince the moderate to change their vote from Trump to Kamala Harris or whatever, when you can just turn out more of your own base, right? But you know what? Your answer is also very acceptable, okay? I think that they are susceptible to strong narratives because they're dumbasses, all right? So I agree with that.
People, you know, I don't even, you know, it's hard for me to be like, you know, they're stupid, because it's so, I mean,
oh, come on.
I just don't.
Come on, let's be real here. They're stupid, right? Let's be real here. Come on.
I think undecided voters in 2026, almost 2026, have their priorities woefully misaligned. I'll say it. I mean,
they're stupid. Yeah.
It's really bad. And
woefully misaligned. You realize that sounds worse than stupid, right? Like woefully misaligned. If I went up to my mom and I was like, "Mom, I think you're woefully misaligned," I think she would bitch slap me across the face.
I think stupid doesn't capture the problem. And if it sounds worse, then so be it. That's what I think. But I don't think stupid really captures the problem. I think they're not stupid in the sense that they are unintelligent. They're not less intelligent than like a hardcore MAGA voter. I don't think. I mean, I would say that kind of person is probably dumber, frankly. I think that their priorities, they don't think politics, they don't think about politics.
I think I think moderates are worse than MAGA sometimes. That's what I think, because they've given us hope, as in like they've said, you know what, argue with me enough and you're able to change my mind. Guess what? We tried that. We tried over 10 years. We tried to appeal to them, and we barely squeezed out a Biden win. And even now, they are still contesting the validity of that election. And True. I think that no matter, you can argue that Biden winning is still Biden winning, and I would agree with that, but that's a loss. The reason why that's a loss, and why I can argue it's a Pyrrhic victory, is because, well, we all expected him to win in the landslide after what happened, but he barely squeezed out victory, and now we can see 4 years later, Donald Trump has won, right? And I think this is the ultimate flaw of this complacency when it comes to going with old tactics to appeal to the moderates, is that you're ultimately setting yourself up to bring an ex-girlfriend back when you know that she's gone, right? I think at some point you need to accept that you need to move on. Yeah.
I think we need to accept that the kind of person that's an undecided voter is not necessarily like a Matthew Iglesias moderate. You know what I mean? Like it's just not the same kind of person. And this is why we have I mean the typical whenever I imagine like an undecided voter, I really am imagining someone who just does not think about politics much. Like truly does not think about politics much.
No, I understand. That's my parents. Yeah.
I mean, like, and I wish that they did, right? Because I think it's very important. I think the politics is very important.
Yeah.
But I think the way that you get them is you get a narrative that draws them in. I mean, say what you will about Trump. He was a cult. I mean, is to some extent was.
Well, you're talking about populism. You're talking about populist messaging. That's what you're talking about.
Sort of. I think Trump was like a cultural phenomenon, right? And Obama was a cultural phenomenon. It can be populist messaging. I think, what does that mean to you? Populist messaging? Because I think that means
it means picking out the stupidest fucking sounding. You know how a bimbo is hot but she's dumb?
So this is populism.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So I think populism. If by populism we mean being stupid, being.
Okay.
Lying.
All right. I'm obviously exaggerating. Okay. Obviously, but I mean, like, what do you want me to say? Populism is this thing where generally it is anti-establishment, anti-rich people, eat the rich, like pro-poor people, blah blah. Like, what do you want me to say? Oh, pro blah blah blah. Yeah, of course, I know what populism means. Okay, I don't need to define populism.
Would you call what Gavin Newsom does populism?
Ooh, yes. I would argue that his messaging is definitely, because if Trump is populist and he's trying to copy the way that Trump is messaging, then I would say that his messaging is indeed populist. Yes, I agree with that.
And do you agree? And do you like or dislike that? What Gavin?
I love that. I love that because it fits Gavin Newsom specifically. Not all politicians have to do it, and nor am I saying that all politicians have to do it. However, it works specifically for him the best. Yeah.
I sort of made a video about this too, or I talked about this in a different video. I can't remember which one now, but
you make videos?
You remember?
I'm kidding. Yeah, go ahead.
You remember whenever? Well, it's sort of still going, but there was a big trend for a while of politicians like performatively cursing.
Yeah.
They would be like, "Oh, I'm just so mad at these damn Republicans," or something, and it'd be like an 80-year-old man who's clearly uncomfortable cursing, but he's been told that he needs to because this is the way to seem. But it just seems fake. I would never encourage anyone to do anything that seems fake. There's a good essay that George Orwell wrote about like rules for. I think it's called Politics.
I read that. It's called 1984. Language. I'm kidding, joking.
Oh yeah. It's called Politics in the English Language, and he gives a whole bunch of rules for writing, like for good writing, in that essay. And at the end, he says, "Please break any of these rules before saying anything utterly barbarous." And I think that's a good rule to follow. You want to seem real, but don't try so hard to seem real that you're actually seeming fake.
Okay, all right. Can I just be honest here? Bro, do you see how we are like liberals talking about, okay, how do we sound the most human? motherfucker, are we robots or are we human beings, right? Like, can we just just loosen up a little bit and stop being so rigid in the way that we're talking? Like, we're going like the intellectual periphery of like the actual whatever the fuck. Why don't you just say these people are dumb as fuck? Okay, moderates are dumb as fuck. Fuck them. All right, turn on our base, and that's it. All right, the most powerful people are black pastors. Why are they so powerful? It's because they don't go like, blah 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 blah. Okay, they're like. Okay, you know what I mean? It's just I hate this like hedging. I hate this like, oh my god, I wouldn't say stupid is the what, not saying you specifically, but I'm saying like we need to be, dude, if the Republicans can call us a bunch of like pedos and rapists and shit like that, why can't we just do that too? We can go like, these people are murderers, rapists, Hitler, fascists. Okay. Also, guess what? You get to
stream last night, and are you familiar with my own?
Oh, okay.
My own.
Okay.
I was streaming, I should say, and I was talking about P.F. Jung. Are you familiar with P.F. Jung? He's had conversations with Destiny before too, I think.
Do not mention his name ever again, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
I'm kidding. Joking. Yeah. Go ahead.
He was talking to Destiny about Nick Fuentes. And
I don't know who Destiny is.
Okay, yeah. I was watching the sort of a debate, sort of a conversation, and P.F. Jung was saying like, well, do you think it's really a good strategy to call Nick Fuentes a Nazi? And I'm just part of what I was saying.
Motherfucker, you call a spade, okay? All right?
I mean,
I'm sorry. You see a hoe-ass bitch over there in the corner, you're gonna call her a hoe-ass bitch, okay? She's over there fucking slapping her ass, twerking on the floor, and she's like fucking ramming her butt into someone who is clearly not her boyfriend, okay? You're gonna call her a hoe-ass bitch. You don't just say that weird, disgruntled African-American woman is trying to do something that is societally not acceptable. No, you wouldn't say that. You sound even more condescending. You sound even worse. You sound even more racist when you say something like that, okay? You just call her a hoe-ass bitch and move forward, and you're invited to the cookout, okay? Just please, for the love of God, yeah, it's called Nick Fuentes a hoe-ass Nazi, okay? And they just
had a lot of
we've
had a lot of commentary. We've had a lot of commentary on black people in this conversation.
Because they be spitting, okay? All right, they be spitting, and I resonate with them in not in the skin color kind of way, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Because when they call someone a hoe-ass bitch, I'm like, damn, bro, yeah, we can all think of them as a hoe-ass bitch. They get the messaging across so easy and clear. But all these white liberals are all like, and by the way, again, okay, I'm not saying, oh my God, I'm a fucking whatever, right? And all these white liberals are like, let's all sound like aristocrats and take lessons on how to sound more human. Motherfucker, just do it. You talk this way at home when you start spanking your kid. You don't go, son, I'm about to apply physical force to your arse now. You go, kid, I'm gonna whoop your ass so bad, I'm gonna send you to the afterlife, okay? Okay. Sorry.
I think I mean,
there we go. Okay.
As far as it goes, I think Democrats should I mean, the general principle of what I think you're trying to say about Democrats needing to be more real and just themselves, I agree with. But I'm never gonna be that kind of person. It's just not gonna be. It's not gonna be my thing. And so I can say, Gavin Newsom,
middle upper class. You're middle upper class. Is that right? Middle upper class.
Am I upper class?
Middle upper class. Middle upper class. Middle to upper class.
Middle upper class. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Mm-hmm. What would that indicate about me?
I came from middle upper class, and both my parents were 6-digit income earners and comp sci master's degree type shit. Okay. And I think the way that I feel like I've been socialized is like putting me inside an iron lung. Okay, after I have been diagnosed with smallpox, and I feel like I'm being constricted. Okay, only after I've been free of them, I'm able to burst out. Okay, and unleash my inner black man. Okay, all right. I need to unleash my inner Tyrone. Okay, you don't understand. All right, but you can't talk like my parents. My parents cannot appeal to shit. Okay, you listen. All right. Okay, please. Okay, people loved Obama for a reason. Okay, the thing is that is that okay?
Obama
That's it.
wasn't
All right.
exactly known for.
I understand. Okay, he's the master rhetorician, and he made sure that he doesn't came off as an angry black person, and he made sure that he came off as very measured and calm and temperate. I understand. I know exactly what you're gonna say. However, Obama. Okay,
Okay.
the point is that yes, that worked for Obama during that time because during that political period. During that political period, we still had the old rules of politics in play, okay? We still had the old rules of politics in play, but now the rules have changed, the game has changed. And I think that a politician like Obama will no longer succeed in our modern day climate. And we can see that with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I wouldn't say that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were like Obama, but I mean,
What?
maybe they
No.
were.
How are they
maybe
not?
They were in
What do you mean?
terms of-
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean,
I think they were.
Just listen to him talk. I mean, I don't know.
You're talking. Okay, all right, yeah, okay, sure, fine. But I'm talking about the old classy way. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
is it not? This whole conversation.
Yes, yeah. But I'm telling you,
it's
they were.
arguable that Obama presents better than either Biden or Kamala.
I feel like there's some bias here, just simply because Obama was the only Obama to have ever Obama'd. You know what I mean? Like, and then everybody else who tries to replicate the success of Obama comes off as kind of fake. But they were still trying to do the same thing. Like, for example, Joe Biden was writing. Like, for example, Joe Biden was writing off of being vice president for Obama, right? Joe Biden is also, that's where his name recognition comes from. And he tried to bring down the temperature of the country when he was when he was a president, right? And he tried to also do the temperate thing or something, but obviously he was older, so he can't really do it as well anymore. For Kamala Harris, when she was campaigning in her 107 days, she was the way that she was speaking, she was like trying to bring hope back to the American people, right? It was like the way that they were trying to the mood that they were trying to go for is this like very Obama hope kind of vibe. And I think that the way that she spoke also was more reminiscent of like with her own flair, of course, right? Not exactly like Obama, but it was close enough, right? It was like, oh yeah, we're gonna bring hope back. We're not gonna go back, guys. We're not gonna go back, right? It's hope, the future, building the future. So I think that you cannot be Obama, but it feels as though we have been so starstruck by Obama's success that we fail to recognize that Obama's success only hinged upon the political environment at that time. And as the political environment has changed, Obama's methods have gone out of the success pool in that sense. That's what I think. But yeah,
maybe so. I mean, in any case, you're right. It's impossible to replicate another politician exactly. I mean, it's one of the reasons why everyone who tries, in 2020, there were so many people who tried to like out Trump, or sorry, in the 2024 primary Republican cycle, there were so many people who tried to kind of like out Trump, but it doesn't work.
But it doesn't work. Exactly.
Yeah, they can't do the same thing. And so, but I wouldn't say that Biden and Kamala were like Obama in that way. I don't think Biden came off as the same kind of guy as Obama at all. Obviously, he has a connection to Obama because he was his vice president. But I think Biden, I don't know, maybe this is just my impression, but I never got the impression from Biden that he was like the same kind of guy as Obama. I mean, he came off as like, America's grandpa.
Yeah.
Whereas Obama didn't.
I understand what you're talking about. I really do. But Obama is an inspiration to all future politicians forever. I think this will always be true. Sure. Of course, Biden is still Biden and Obama is still Obama, but I'm just saying there's always some degree of influence from Obama present throughout the Democratic politicians. And when they try to use that energy in order to get themselves to win, the problem is that the game has changed. So the technology has progressed so far. Like it's kind of like using new guns in the Civil War, right? The reason why it was one of the bloodiest wars, it is the bloodiest war in American history, is because, and by the way, more deaths than World War II, is simply just because the tactics that they used was the same as the Revolutionary War, even though the guns that they used are like way deadlier, way faster, way more crazy at the time, right? And so you don't change the tactics when you get the new guns, but you thought that because you won the Revolutionary War, you think that the tactics still work when they don't anymore, right? You have to get with the times. You have to learn how to enhance your tactics instead of, like that's basically the best way I can kind of describe it. You know what I mean? You get
Yeah, no,
you get what I'm picking down?
I agree with you. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I mean,
Debate
I
one.
don't.
Boom.
I'm
Yeah, go
never.
ahead. Yeah.
I'm never gonna be the kind of person that's doing the incredibly bombastic routine. That's just not the kind of
No,
person that I
not
am, and I
everyone is
think it would
required to
come
do
off.
that. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
and it would come off
Yeah.
fake if I did. And
Yeah,
so,
that's okay. You can be the soft white boy.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my rule.
and then other minorities can clap you on the back and go, "You are kid," and then you go like, and then yeah, you can be that stereotype. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, that sounds good. Sounds good. I
Okay.
think,
I would. Yeah.
oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
what's up?
No, no, no. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I don't even know. What was the
I
next
don't even
question?
know. Huh? Sorry. What did you say?
What were you about to say?
Oh, I was gonna move on to the next topic.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
please.
So please.
Well, no,
No, I'm kidding. I'm teasing you, okay? Okay, there are some crazy ones. What do you think about tit for tat tactics? So I'm sure you're aware of Destiny talking about tit for tat. He's been showing up on Fox
not.
News
I
primetime.
don't.
Oh,
I'm not
really?
aware of Destiny
Oh, you're
talking
not aware
about
of Destiny
tit for
showing
tat.
up on Fox News primetime?
Did he?
Yes.
Oh no, I'm not
So
aware of this.
after
I really don't watch like stream
Oh wait, no,
content
it's good.
at
I'll tell
all.
you. I'll tell you. Don't worry. I'll tell you. That wasn't stream content. That's like cable news.
Oh,
But
okay.
anyway, the point is this. Okay, so because you mentioned Destiny, so therefore I'm gonna assume that you're.
Oh yeah.
Familiar.
No, no,
It was a
fair enough.
reasonable assumption. I thought.
I'm
Yeah.
aware
Anyway.
of him.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't
All
really
right.
keep up with content very much though.
Okay. He's evil. Okay. So don't associate with him.
Okay.
Anyway, joking. I'm joking. Okay, joking. Anyway.
Yeah.
So after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, when conservatives were demanding liberals to denounce the violence on Charlie Kirk, and from the left, right? Destiny was the one that stepped forward and said, no, I don't think we should denounce it until the Republicans have denounced it first. Until the Republicans have demanded that Trump denounce it first, because he has the loudest voice, he can lower the temperature the most. I don't think the liberals should ever denounce it. And I think because of his edgy statements, right after Charlie Kirk's shooting, he ended up on Fox News primetime, and
Okay.
he ended up as a huge controversial, like a huge controversy, like from the conservative side of things, when he ended up on Piers Morgan as well. What are your thoughts on tit for tat
I mean,
as a tactic?
I think
Yes.
I think that just comes off as really bitter. You know,
Oh.
that doesn't come off as very like strong. I mean, I feel like I can imagine the reaction to that from probably his fans were, you know, like, oh, based. Like, I feel like that just comes off as like bitter to me though. Like, I mean, I think it's horrible that I think that it's horrible that he was assassinated. I don't think that was a good thing. And I think, you know, as long as we're talking about, you know, saying
By
things,
bitter,
we
do
believe.
you mean that is that a bad thing?
It was what a bad thing.
Is
That he was
bitter like
assassinated?
no, not the assassination part, the bitter part, right? Like is bitter like I'm sure that we
Yeah,
would
I
all
don't think
agree
it's
that it
getting
is bitter, like we would all say it's bitter, but like what is the actual, do you think it's good or bad, like
I don't
to
think
say that?
talking like that. Well, if we can zoom out a little, I think sometimes tit for tat is fine and in fact good. Like for
Yeah.
instance, Gavin Newsom redistricting in California in
Mhm.
response to what Texas did. I thought that was an excellent move and one that should be replicated across. I mean, we should really learn from that example, I think, as a kind of tit for tat thing. But what you said, I'm not really sure that comes off as like tit for tat, frankly. I think that just comes off as kind of bitter. You know, sorry. I know this is a Destiny fan.
Yeah, there is no,
Destiny fan, so-
I understand.
But
there is a negative connotation there for sure. And
it just
listen,
doesn't.
okay, like
It
I'm
doesn't
not
come off as like
offended, okay, don't
strong to
worry.
me.
Okay,
It doesn't come
yeah.
off as like strong to me. It comes off as just kind of like kind of bitter.
Okay, my personal
Personally,
view
in that instance.
Yeah, my personal view is that it seems as though there is a double standards present in this country, and I personally call it a double standards poisoning, because like a poison, you don't notice it until it's too late. And it kind of has symptoms here and there, but if you don't administer the antidote, you will die, right? So the double standards poisoning is in which like, for example, if the Democrats even did a single...
Can I clarify something? Did he say that it was good? Did he say that it was good that Charlie Kirk was shot, or did he say
no, not at all. He totally denounced the killer, but it's just that he said that if a Republican asks you to denounce the left because of the violence, right, or whatever, then you should refuse to do that and ask the Republican.
The left. It wasn't the left. The left didn't kill.
Oh, condemn the or rather, it's not about the left either. It's about condemning the violence in general, condemning violence in general as well. So including that. Yeah.
I guess what do you lose by just? I think I'm just
perpetrating. So my argument, at the very least, I'm not sure if this is Stephen's argument. My argument is that you would be perpetrating the poisoning in this country, because what is essentially happening, and now follow me here. I know this is kind of hard to. This is a hard position to argue for. I will say that. Okay, it's not an easy position to argue for. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Do you think it worked? Do you think it was like a good move whenever after Rob Reiner was murdered?
Who's that?
The director.
No, I'm not a politics person.
He directed a bunch of famous movies, but Trump, right after he was murdered, just like a week ago, Trump was like,
"Oh, that guy." Okay.
I heard that what killed him was his Trump derangement syndrome. Like, do you think that like helped Trump, or do you think that was a bad move for Trump?
I think it does help Trump, because
I don't think so. I think that was a horrible move for Trump. I don't think that helped at all. I think you saw even on the right wing, people on Twitter.
That's fair. That's hold on. That's fair. However, Trump has been doing that since forever, right? That wasn't the only move that he has done, right? And for the record, I think that Trump has been doing this kind of thing for 10 years now at this point, right? But let's just say that specific instance wasn't too good for Trump, okay? Fine, I can concede to that, right? However, I think that this is a step in a long list of steps that he has taken in order to perpetrate this double standards poisoning, right? Like, for example, for Charlottesville, he said, well, there's a lot of radical people on the left and the right, right? He does this kind of equivalency thing. And then you can draw a straight line from Charlottesville and what he said to the Proud Boys all the way to January 6th, right? Because... Do
you think that him saying the Charlottesville thing was good for him? That was like a horrible scandal for him.
I think it did perfectly for him. Perfectly.
Way. Like... Because
look, from Donald Trump's point of view, right?
That was like one of the worst scandals of his first term.
Sure. Fine. But I think that by saying that, sure, he took like short-term losses, right, in terms of like press and stuff like that, like criticizing him. But long-term, like, what did he get out of it, right? January 6th.
What did he get out of it?
January 6th was successful. It did actually delay the count, right? And then now everybody has moved on from January 6th. It's now considered something of the past and nobody wants to talk about it anymore. By all means, that is successful. He manages to try to rig the entire thing for himself and everybody just simply moved on with their lives. Like, this is, to me, like, I don't know what, like, if that's not a victory, I don't know what isn't a victory. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Not so sure I connect Trump.
He got elected again. Okay, somebody said in chat, but that's a perfect one. He got elected again, right? This isn't just like, oh, there's this little thing happening, and then therefore
January 6th is why he got elected again. I think I'm just having trouble connecting
right. But you have to look at the greater context, right? You can't just look at a single event and you go, okay, wait, this is the one event, this is the smoking gun, okay? You look at the greater context. I love that word, greater context. But you look at the greater context and you're like, wait a second. There's this double standards poisoning that is going on in this country, okay? I'm sure you can agree with that. Like, for example, if Joe Biden even did 1% of what Trump has done, right? The Republicans would just not, like the way that they treat Trump is just completely different. They treat him like a child. Like he's a child, like stumbling over and killing people, and they're able to move on from that, right?
For sure.
But for Biden, he has to like tiptoe all the time, and he's like apparently mentally delusional. Oh wait, his son that isn't even in politics is being like condemned by the Republicans in an insane witch hunt. These are not the same standards, especially when you look at like Trump electing his own family members to be ambassadors to other countries. That's fucking nuts. Anyway, the point is that, you know, after Trump coin and all that shit, right? There is this double standards poisoning, but it didn't start there. It didn't start with Hunter Biden. It didn't start with Trump coin. It began with the subtle and slow poisoning of this into the American psyche. And I think that it began slowly, but we continue to rise to ride the wave of a previous way of doing politics that I will say worked for its time. That worked for its time, the Obama era, right? But I think that eventually down the line, I think what happened is that we didn't realize how poisoned we were until it's too late. And then now Trump got elected twice. And
I just don't think that the reason that Trump got elected twice is because...
But he shouldn't have gotten elected twice after January 6th. I think that's something we can both agree on, right? He shouldn't have gotten elected after January 6th, but yet that still happened. Why did that happen?
So,
Why did that happen, right? Like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is the point of... So earlier you said...
Oh, yeah, sorry. We probably went a little bit off track.
We just need to say things how they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to say what we believe. That's
and that is also part of that, yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So if someone asks you, you know, is political violence bad? I think the
answer is yes.
Saying like the answer is I'm
you
confused
say yes?
with the argument. I'm confused with the argument is then.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm doing a bad job of phrasing it, but let me think about it. Okay.
I feel like if a Republican asked me what I thought about political violence, I would say that political violence is bad. I don't like political violence.
Right, but what is the reason why they wanted you to say that? What's the implication there? What's the implication of why they want you to say that?
What do you think they get out of me saying that political violence is bad?
Everything. Because it's okay, if I was sitting at a police interrogation, okay, and then and then they were asking me questions about who did the murder, right? And then I said, and they're like, do you think that this was bad? Like, do you think like, anyway, oh fuck, that's me not, okay, sorry, that's not, ignore that one. Ignore that example, okay? I'm trying to think of a better one. I'm trying to think of no, I understand. Listen, I also think it's bad, okay? All right, hold on. I'm not, okay, hopefully you'll understand. I'm not trying to encourage political violence here, okay? I'm not trying to make the argument.
Sure. I'm just curious how you square the position of saying what you think.
To me, it sounds like a confession. To me, it sounds like a confession because when in the greater context of after the Charlie Kirk shooting, if a Republican asks you to condemn the violence, even if they put it in a neutral way, the implication there is that your side is the side that have done the violence, that have caused the rising in rhetoric that eventually led up to Charlie Kirk's death. The implication there is unspoken, but the question itself, if it was asked in good faith, I'm sure you can agree to that. But the implication there, the true meaning behind the question that is asked to you, is not the actual phrasing of what they have asked of you. Does that make sense? Because what they're saying is, do you condemn the fact that lefties are the ones that caused the death of Charlie Kirk, which we would all agree that is not the case, right?
You should definitely not accept that. I
mean,
if that's in the greater context.
But to them, the reason why they want to extract that out of you is because that sounds like an admission of guilt. Does that make sense? In the greater context of things, immediately after the Charlie Kirk aftermath.
I just don't really think that it sounds that bad, frankly. I don't think it sounds that bad. If all we're saying here is someone said after the Charlie Kirk shooting, do you condemn political violence? I don't think you lose anything by saying, yeah, political violence is bad. I really don't. I
agree. No, hold on. It isn't that political violence is bad, because I think that we can concede to, oh yeah, political violence is bad. But I think we can argue that, no. Again, I agree. Okay. Yeah. But that's not the question they're asking. The question they're asking is, do you condemn the violence that happened? Do you condemn the violence that happened? Right? It is an unfair expectation of you to condemn that when their side has done none of that. right? It's an
Well, I think it's
unfair
fair to
playing
bring that
field.
up too. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's fair to bring that up. I think you should say, I mean, I think it would be fair to say, talk about all the right wing. I think like, like a day before or a day after the Charlie Kirk shooting, someone, there was another one of these like
Melissa
neo-Nazi
Hortman,
type
right?
school shooters.
Oh,
I
sorry.
don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
There was another type of, I don't even, they happen so often, I don't even know. Oh
Jesus.
no, you're talking about those state senators. This was not at the same time. But right after the Charlie Kirk shooting, or right before, I can't even remember now.
Hmm.
There was another one of these like neo-Nazi type school shootings,
Hmm.
and like nobody talked about it, And like I think it probably would be fair to say like, yeah, I condemn violence. Do you condemn this other thing that just happened? Like I think that would be fine. But I don't think that you lose anything by saying political violence is bad. I think I understand. Let's just go down the path of
No,
like
it's
what
okay. It's
happened
okay.
to you each thing.
I,
If you choose to say like, no, I'm not going to condemn political
sure.
violence because
Well,
then you inevitably look like what you're saying. And I'm sure, again, I'm sure what people said is that this made Destiny look like he was endorsing political violence. Is that what happened?
sure. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what happened?
And people
Yeah.
were like, "Oh my God, don't you see he's actually endorsing?" Yeah. That's basically what the other side was saying. Yeah.
And I'm not so sure. Setting aside the whether or not we should just say what's true, which is that political violence is bad. At least that's what I think. Even from a practical political perspective, I'm not so sure that was a good move. If it just made everyone think that he endorses political violence, I'm not so sure that was a good move. Whereas, maybe I don't even know if it is an L. I mean, but it seems like you and maybe probably others perceive it as taking an L to like say, oh, I condemn political violence in the aftermath of that. But I don't even see that as an L. But like presumably you and others see it as an L. Sometimes you do just got to take an L. You in a rhetorical context, in a debate, you got to just take it and move on. You got to move on to the next thing. And that doesn't mean that you have to accept the framing of saying like the left was responsible for Charlie Kirk's murder, because the left wasn't responsible for the left was not responsible for Charlie Kirk's murder. And then I think you can also say that the right has been horrifically violent over the Trump era. And we could run through the many examples. I mean, obviously January 6th is probably the most extreme version of trying to overturn an election with violence. And these days you can't even Republicans that want to be that want to be in the Trump administration can't even say that to Congress. I mean, I'm sure you've seen those videos of like Trump nominees being asked by senators or whoever, like, who won the 2020 election, and they can never say Joe Biden. They can never say it.
Sure. Okay.
And so I think it's fair to bring all this up in the same context as well. But I just don't really see it as that big a deal to say like,
Okay.
political violence is bad.
All right.
In that context.
Yeah. I think that okay, my goal today isn't somebody said, wait, this is turning into a rhetorical discussion. It's been a rhetorical discussion this entire time, dude. Anyway. Right, yeah, because it was all about presentation since the very beginning, right? So I don't want to convince you today, okay? I don't want to convince you today, all right? But I'll just do one last thing.
Okay.
Do you remember what Nancy Mace said about the Charlie Kirk thing?
No.
I think that, okay, she said that, oh yeah, that was horrific, that was bad, and whatever, right? And then another reporter said, do you condemn the violence done to the state senators, the Hortmans, right? And the gunman that killed them, right? And then she said, I can't believe you would ask that question. What is wrong with you? Right? So
yeah, that's obviously
so
bad faith,
she wants the left.
Worse for saying that. I don't think she comes off like strong or based or anything for saying that. I think that's a
and yet Nancy Mace is still a politician, a sitting politician, right?
Well, she's still a sitting politician. Then.
Yes, but I'm saying, how did we end up in this scenario where a sitting politician wants the left to condemn Charlie Kirk, wants the left to condemn Charlie Kirk's shooting, but she herself wouldn't want the right to condemn the Hortman shooting, right? Like, how did we get here? And
that's really bad. Yeah, I think that.
No, I agree. I agree. That's really bad. But that is just one example of a very long list of examples of this double standards poisoning that is happening. Because in the very beginning, sorry,
feel
one
like
last.
I feel like what underlies a lot of what you're saying here is that you
Yeah.
imagine, or at least I don't really understand what you're getting at, if not this, I should say, because you agree that
I think that this, I think that,
political violence is
okay, sure,
bad,
I can
right?
explain. Yeah, the
Okay.
standard basically does, because we can't go down this route of like double standards anymore. If it is the
Like,
case that, sure, let me just explain. But
okay.
I think that if we cannot rectify this double standards poisoning that is going on, I think that either Democrats have to be treated as the same standards as Republicans today, either by raising Republicans to that standard, which we know is impossible, or we lower Democrats to the same standard as the Republicans, or we're fucked. That is my thing, okay? I think that Democrats should forget about all of these rules of norms and whatever. Politics is about power. Politics is about winning, okay? If this is what allowed the Republicans to win this entire time, get elections, win and stuff like that, then therefore we should not, and Democrats have been trying to be the better people for the last 10 years. Maybe we should no longer try to be the better people. Maybe it's just simply better to also be on the same rhetoric, and we can see it working pragmatically. Gavin Newsom also doing edgy rhetoric, right? Not going way too far, sure, I agree with that, but doing the same edgy rhetoric. Other Democratic politicians also doing the same.
I'm sorry.
You need to be able,
This is a-
you
this
can't
is a
hold
category
yourself to different standards as the opposing side, or you're fucked, right? Because
I agree that Democrats
you're-
don't need to.
it's like,
So this is a category difference.
yes.
First of all,
Yeah. Okay. Go
if
ahead.
we're talking about political violence, right, and then we're talking about political violence, and then we're talking about Gavin Newsom, imitating Trump tweets, right? I don't think these are the same thing, personally.
Disagree.
And I think what and this is sort of what I was trying to get at earlier. Do you imagine that it would help Democrats like win elections if, like, after the Charlie Kirk shooting, Democrats were like, they all took the strategy that you're saying
Yes.
Destiny took?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think that would be horrible. Why I can't see why if we look at what do you think that Trump's response to, do you think January 6th was like good for Trump's popularity?
Not immediately, but it's not about his popularity, right? It's whether or not he is still in power, right? It's not about because we can take a look at Trump's dropping popularity this entire time. We can take a look at that, and he's still dropping on popularity. But where is he now? He's still the president of the United States. He got elected after January 6th. How did that happen?
The failure after January 6th was for the Biden administration to not put him in jail, and the failure was with Congress for refusing to impeach him, and after the fact, because they came up. I don't know if Mitch McConnell came up with all these convoluted reasonings why they couldn't pass it in the Senate for procedural reasons or something. So that was the failing after January 6th. I just fundamentally don't think that these instances of Trump being like endorsing political violence help him. I think that you're grouping in two things that are not the same, which is being like provocative on social media.
Sorry, I want to clarify.
Almost three things.
I want to clarify real quick.
We're talking about being provocative on social media generally.
I think
we're talking about endorsing political violence, and then we're talking about a broader strategy.
I want to clarify real quick, okay?
And I agree with these two, but not that
I think for now, social media, like social wise, like commentator wise, I think commentators should push for this unified messaging of we should do tit for tat, okay? But Democratic politicians, sure, I kind of agree with you. I kind of agree with you on that.
What do you mean
maybe
by
they shouldn't be
tit for tat?
As in like,
yeah.
If we're not operating on the same standards, then we should do whatever we could to operate on the same standards.
Okay. So I think the genesis of our disagreement here is that you think that when Republicans do things like refuse to condemn the Hortman's killing, that this helps them.
I think
that this helps them?
I think it helps on a macro scale.
I just don't think so. I think they do other things that outweigh the damage that they're doing to themselves with this stuff. I think that they're doing other things that outweigh the damage that they do whenever they are doing horrible stuff like that.
I think the benefit isn't obvious. I think that the benefit is
if we can't see it in the
polls,
right? If we can't see it in the polls, and we can't see it in like the preponderance of the reactions to it after the fact,
but we do see it, right?
Where?
Like the fact that we have the double standards right now, and you agree with me that we do have the double standards right now, shows
we have a double standard
that they've been doing this thing the entire time, and it's been working, right? It's been happening this entire time.
I think the difference is that I think that they've been succeeding in spite of the fact that they have some horrible takes about political violence, and you think that they're succeeding because of it.
That is
I think
one
that they're
reason,
succeeding
yes.
I think that they're succeeding in spite of this. I don't think that Trump saying what he did after Charlottesville helped him. I think that was bad for Trump, and he would have been more successful in implementing his agenda had he not said that. I think that was one of the worst scandals of his first term. I think had he not done January 6th, frankly, he would have had an easier time getting elected in 2024. I think that he succeeds in spite of these things, not because of them. I think there was a very real chance that after January 6th, that Trump straight up goes to jail, and it's on the Democrats, frankly, for not making sure that happened, because he definitely deserved to. He definitely deserved to just go to jail after that. And I criticize the Democrats vociferously for not doing that. And I criticize the Republicans in the Senate for refusing to do their constitutional duty and impeach him after January 6th when they had the opportunity.
What do you blame the Democrats on again?
In the Biden administration for not putting Trump in jail. He deserved to after January 6th. He tried to coup the government,
I think
he deserved to go to jail for that.
I agree with that. It's just everything else. Let's just say I disagree. Okay, let's just simply put it there. I disagree. Because I think that this is more of an extended debate, right? Like this is like not something that can be fit into this discussion, right? I'd be totally willing to talk about this in the future, like this kind of double standards thing. Okay, hold on, wait. Somebody said impeach him with a Republican-led majority. What's your response to that? Republican-led majority. How do you?
Yeah, no, I sort of just said that, I criticized the Republicans for not doing their constitutional duty and impeaching him. Yeah, and I criticized the Democrats after they were in power for not prosecuting him. You don't need Congress to prosecute somebody.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's okay. All right.
That's a thing that Merrick. This is the thing that Merrick Garland is often criticized for, right? Biden appointed Merrick Garland to be AG, and then kind of slow walked the investigation.
Sure. I mean,
slow walked all the investigations into the January 6th stuff.
I would need to look more into, like, again, with Merrick Garland, I'm like trying to find some source on it where I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is happening there. Okay. But like, I've been just confused. Nobody ever made like a single fucking video essay on him or anything. Okay. And as you know, okay, I never read. Okay. Fuck reading. Okay. All right. But I do consider you to be somebody who knows a lot more than I do. Okay, listen. Okay,
I should say, just to reply to that commentary, the Democrats' failure. The Democrats' failure wasn't in failing to impeach him after January 6th. Obviously, that's right. That's the Republicans' fault. That's on them for refusing to do their constitutional duty. The Democrats, or I guess I should say specifically the Biden administration, deserves at least some criticism for not further pursuing Trump's prosecutions during their administration.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like,
so maybe I got my wires crossed there about.
No. I could probably say the same. Of Mueller. Did Mueller ever conclude whether or not Trump is actually a Russian agent or not, or a Russian asset, or completely compromised, other than the people around him?
If I remember right, the main thing that the investigation concluded is that Russia absolutely did fund like internet ops to help the Trump campaign.
Right.
I think that was the main thing.
I don't more than that, right?
But yeah, was that not the most important? Was that not the most important bit of that?
I thought it was also about like a bunch of the politicians around him that were actually just straight up like working with Russia. Yeah, colluding with Russia.
No, I mean, some people went to jail for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was. I mean, obviously Trump isn't in jail, so I guess it was never proven in a court of law that he knew about what was happening. Although he literally did say, like, Vladimir Putin, help me. And then the next day, all the emails come out.
Yeah, I'm also checking in with you because I think that Mueller ended his investigation early, from what I remember, because he was too afraid of what he might find. That he didn't want to cross into the threshold of questioning whether or not you should take action against the president of the United States while he's in sitting power. I think that was one of the reasons why that has happened. Do you remember that? Or like, I'm not sure if that was a fleeting memory of mine that I just simply was deluded on or something,
I have no idea if he said that. I have no idea. Maybe he did. I have no idea. I don't remember.
Okay, yeah. Okay. That double standards thing, okay? I'll get you on that one yet, okay? All right, not to get you or not get you,
Well, I
okay? All
guess I
right,
should
we're
say
gonna throw
I agree
fisticuffs,
that there's
okay?
a double
Later, all
standard.
right?
I
No,
agree
no,
that there's a double standard. I just disagree. I disagree that you seem to think that some of these things are helping Republicans, and I think they're winning in spite of them.
And
If that makes sense.
sure. And I think that Republicans have greatly benefited from the perpetuating of this double standards to the point where they just straight up have absolute power right now. But
To some
you know,
extent
we can
they
agree
are.
to disagree. We can agree to disagree for now. We can agree to disagree for now. Okay, we can't. Okay, we can't go into this. We can't do this. Okay, I'm just stating where the disagreement is and then moving on. Okay, I'm not trying to argue for it anymore. Okay, I'm not trying to argue for it anymore. Okay, let's put that on the shelf. Let's put it on the shelf for the future. Okay, and we can actually have
let
a
me
real
say one more
discussion on
thing.
that in the future.
Let me say
Yes,
one more
go
thing,
ahead.
and then I will stop.
Yeah, go ahead.
To some extent, they are. Like, you gave some good examples that I absolutely agree with. Like the example of whenever Gavin Newsom started tweeting like Trump, and he was criticized, by Fox News for being unprofessional or whatever, even though this is exactly what Trump does. That's an example of what you're saying, and I think it's a good one.
Sure.
Or whenever the Prop 50 stuff in California was happening, Democrats were. I think these are the types of things that I think that I agree with you on, and that Democrats should be pushing back on the double standard there. I just disagree about the political violence stuff. I don't think that helps Republicans. I think that they win in spite of it. So just now, that's the last thing I'll say.
Okay, I'm gonna say one more thing in response to that. Okay, since you put in a statement there. Okay, I think that part of that is I think they won because that is part of their entire strategy, is to normalize the double standards that has taken place. The reason why we hold Democrats to a higher standard is not only is it in addition to the Obama era tactics of taking the high road on things, but it's also that they need to be able to say crazy shit that in which they would take hits in that moment, which we all agree with, but then still perpetuate the general vibes. I'm gonna say vibes because, again, you can say it's vibes, but I would argue not all vibes are made the same. Okay, I would argue that the general environment perpetuate the general. Let's just say environment. Okay, perpetuate the general environment in which we end up here. Anyway, all right, stop. Now can we stop, please? Now can we stop?
For sure. I think I've said my piece.
Okay, yeah. Oh, one last question. Okay, before we end it. All right, ready?
One last question.
Do you think that conservatism as a whole, like, let's just say, because I watched a video on intellectual conservatism, okay?
Yeah.
And I thought it was such an interesting video, mainly because I questioned that, is bigotry always the ultimate endpoint of conservative movements? Is there any conservative movement that didn't end like in some kind of like bigoted or leaning towards bigotry, separatism, tribalism type shit?
I guess it depends on how thin you want to slice it. I don't think that there's any kind of that populist nationalist conservatism that can exist without bigotry. I guess I don't think that there's any kind of, and that's sort of the thesis of the video, right? I think that kind of like populist nationalist conservatism can't exist without cranks and without bigots and without racists and without anti-Semites. I think that's where it gets a lot of its energy from, frankly. It's hard to say. I don't know about, can we imagine a conservatism that exists without bigotry? Maybe. I don't know. I think definitely you can't. I personally know conservatives that are not bigoted, but I don't think that you can have that kind. Most of them vote for Democrats now, but
oh, nice.
I don't think you can have that kind of populist nationalist conservatism without the bigotry. I don't think that that's a thing that you can have. The kind of blood and soil nationalism.
Yeah,
it's always going to have some bigotry. I think that's integral to it. Yeah.
What is a form of conservatism that does not have bigotry baked eventually into it?
Well, are you talking about like ideologically, or are you talking about like how it manifests in real life?
How it manifests IRL. Like, why does it always go down to that route? And by the way, I'm asking this out of genuine curiosity. It isn't because I disagree.
There's an interesting essay called "Why I'm Not a Conservative," and it's by this. He's often thought of as a conservative economist, F.A. Hayek. He wrote this "Why I'm Not a Conservative" essay, and he's obviously more conservative than me, but I think he has some sort of interesting insights into the conservative mindset because he's much closer to it than probably he was. He's dead now, but he was much closer to it.
I was closer to God.
You or I, right? Presumably. So I guess I would just bracket that and say I would recommend reading that essay because I think it's really insightful. But then because we're not reading, I would just say I think that there can be a conservative impulse of general resistance to change that is not necessarily motivated by bigotry. I mean, I don't think that that's a necessary component of that kind of conservatism. But I do think that the kind of conservatism that we have IRL in the United States right now is in fact, I mean, there's a lot of bigotry that's there. I mean, the most popular commentators on the American right wing right now, I mean, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Fuentes. I mean, these people are insane. And they're very bigoted, and they're anti-Semitic, and they're racist, and all these things. So I think IRL. I'm not sure that there can be a conservative movement in the United States right now that doesn't have any of that attached to it. I struggle to see how that would be possible right now. IRL.
Okay, I see.
If that makes sense.
No, that does make sense, actually. Yeah, because I'm like thinking back, is like, can you name? Because I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, can I name a single conservative movement that somehow didn't end up like a major conservative movement? I don't mean just like I don't just mean like what do you say? I don't mean just like, oh yeah, you just want to talk about conserving national parks or something, right? Like something as topic or as niche as something like that, right? I'm talking about like overall, like this mass, like for example, the libertarian movement, kind of, right? I don't even know if you want to consider that to be conservative, but like again, right? Like I'm trying to think of one. I'm like, okay, I can't really think of one that isn't like more baked in bigotry eventually.
I think the old three-legged stool of conservatism. Only one of the legs was social conservatism. So I mean, presumably you had at least 2/3 of the coalition who that was not their primary motivating force, right? Of course, that doesn't really answer your question because it still included a lot of bigots in the tent, so to speak. So I don't know. I mean, certainly not in the last 100 years in the United States. I mean, that just has to do with the history. I mean, that just has to do with the history of how conservatism has developed in the United States. I mean, certainly the issues that conservatives have been interested in, I don't know about the last 100 years, but certainly since like the civil rights era, I mean, the issues that motivate conservatives have, the conservative tent has included bigots in it for a long time in the United States. Right. I mean, that's not, so I don't know. I mean, maybe someone could theoretically, go back and find something in the United States where the conservatives they've managed to fully exclude bigotry from the coalition, but nothing in recent American history comes to mind. I mean, I think that's always kind of been part of the conservative movement, and at some points, the people in charge have tried to, keep it more at bay, but it's always been there.
I see.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. There is listen, okay, you're so smart, okay? I actually do enjoy, like, no matter if it's agreeing or disagreeing with you, like, I'm just so happy to be talking to like an actually smart person for once, okay? Oh my god, thank God. All right.
I don't know about that. You're very nice.
Dude,
thank you.
Shut up, okay? All right. Come on. I do appreciate you so much, okay? For example, for taking the time to come on as well. Like, I really appreciate that. You can come on anytime, by the way.
It's fun.
It is fun, right? Like this beautiful dance of agreeing and disagreeing at the same time, right?
I'm sure they've been. I'm sure
they love you.
I'm sure they all love me, right? I'm sure everyone loves me over there. Yeah.
I react to your video. No, I react to your videos, and everybody agrees with you. Okay, because we're all liberals. We're all liberals.
You'll have to excuse me on. Well, that's a good point. Actually, I do think there's too much infighting. I think there's way too much infighting on the American left generally. I mean, that's such a banal point. I mean, everyone says that. I mean, obviously, there's things that I agree with. I'm not a socialist, for example. I'm not a communist, but I don't spend my time talking about how much I hate, I don't know I don't spend my time talking about how much I hate, like, I don't know, like Hassan or something. I guess that's the first thing that comes to mind. Is like,
well, I wonder why you brought up that example. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. He's just the first example that came to mind of like a prominent socialist commentator. But like, Hassan is like not in power. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I would criticize him. I mean, I think he said some really awful things. I've seen some clips of him that seem like he's said. I mean, like, I don't know. Again, I'm not.
Please
like
don't turn into a
I'm not
lefty.
big
Please don't
into-
turn into a lefty. Okay, I'm begging
I'm not
you.
big into the streaming stuff, but I
Yeah.
saw the clip where he said like America deserved 9/11 or something.
Mm-hmm.
That seems pretty bad. I mean, that seems like really heinous.
Yeah,
like,
when I'm talking about tit for tat, I denounce Hassan. Okay, when I'm talking about tit for tat, okay, Jesus, yeah, that seems a little wild.
Yeah. Would you say that I'm cucking out to the conservatives by saying that he shouldn't have said that?
Yeah, exactly. You're cucking out so hard that what's his name? That John McCain rose out of the grave again, and then he's like, bro, your cucked energy made me come back to politics. Okay,
that's what you're saying.
right.
This is the argument you were making earlier. So I don't know. But like I don't agree. I don't think that the labor theory of value makes a ton of sense. But I don't spend all my time talking about the labor theory of value. You know what I mean?
The
Maybe that would
labor
be
theory
better.
of value. Oh my God, please. Yeah.
But they're not the ones actually in power. Like the National Conservatives are the one in power right now.
I agree.
The post
Yeah, I
liberals
think
are the one in power right now.
Yeah, for example, Asmongold and Hassan is beefing, and I think that Asmongold is a greater threat than Hassan because Asmongold represents the side with more power, and he has a way larger audience and hits the algorithm more often. Huh? What?
What's his deal, Asmongold?
Oh, he's just a groiper now. That's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
he's just a groiper now. Yeah, he's just straight up a groiper. Before he was not like this. Before he was not like this, but we should have seen this coming a mile away. But now he is the biggest platform
is he the one
for
that,
the groipers.
That sleeps with like roaches or something?
Yes, that's right.
So it feels like maybe at some point we should say like
that there's a double standards poisoning?
No, I'm just saying if someone's living a life. If someone's living a life like that, sometimes you gotta just say like
Well, he's getting poisoned by the roaches and the rats and the dead rats in his room. Okay, the story is that he has a dead rat that he uses as an alarm clock because the corpse would emit a foul odor, and when the sun hits the dead rat when it's daytime, the odor would wake him up.
You're fucking with me.
I'm not fucking with you. Real. This is what he said. I'm not fucking with you. I'm not fucking with. Yes, actually, fuck. Okay. I'm not fucking with you. Yes.
That's disgusting.
I know, but you should. But you know what's even more disgusting? You should Google search sonic inflation sometime. Okay? All right, you should Google search sonic inflation sometime. You'll see.
I'm not that clueless. There's a rule on the internet about this.
Yeah, you think so? No, but it's a really important economic. I'm kidding. Yeah. Oh my God. You know what? Talking with you is a lot of fun. Okay.
It's fun. I'm trying to get more into the
streaming
ecosystem.
You don't regret the stock, do you? You like the stock?
No. It's fun. I was a little worried that you were racist whenever you started making all the comments about black people.
No,
I'm not
what?
Gonna lie.
No,
some of these.
If anything, I'm like praising them. No, if anything,
some of those comments I found a little distasteful.
No, of course I'm racist. Of course I'm racist. But I mean, what's humans without a little bit of racism in our genes, right? I think whatever, man. I'm not about to bring up 1350. You know what I mean?
I had a great time. I had a great time chatting.
Yeah, of course. Look, all right, you're awesome. Okay, I love your videos. I will cover.
Thank you so much.
I'll cover more of your videos. Okay. Was there a final question I wanted to ask? Let me think. Was it about conservatism? I think it was about conservatism or some shit. Do you think that? Oh, well, yes, I remember now. Do you think that conservatives can ever not be reactionary? Like they're always about either maintaining the status quo or going back in time. Like, do you think that they can ever be the ones making progress ever?
No.
Or advocate for making progress?
No. I think what you just described is integral to what it means to be a conservative. So no.
See, that's one thing we can agree on.
Okay. That's true.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Well, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I'm trying to get thank you so much for having me on. Well, wanting to get more into the sort of streaming world.
Yes.
But it's a rough and tumble world out there. One
It
of the
is.
reasons I think that streamers hate each other so much is because they're in direct competition with each other in a way that video essay people just aren't. You
That's
can
right.
watch so many video essays, but you can only watch one stream at a time.
That's correct. Yep.
You can feasibly keep up with a lot of YouTubers. And so, I have a lot of YouTuber friends, but I don't know
Yeah.
any streamers that are friends. They all end up hating each other.
You have no idea because every single time Steven, the Destiny, right? Every single time Destiny streams around this hour, I always like go end up yelling in his DMs. I'm like, stop fucking streaming right now. Get off stream right now. Get off stream right now. I need to stream. And when I see lower viewer numbers, I want to sewer slide in Minecraft and Roblox. Okay. I'm like, you have to.
What do you usually average?
I usually average anywhere from in total from Kick and YouTube from 100 to 250. But that literally, that seriously depends on what I'm covering. If I'm covering politics, everyone's like, okay, we're going to go watch someone else. But if I'm covering something that is considering Destiny drama, which is my main jurisdiction, okay, again, politics is not my jurisdiction, okay, it's, which makes you think like, oh my God, how does this kid know so much about politics? Okay, listen to me, okay? But for drama, all right, you have no idea, okay? I know some shit like the back of my hand, all right? You have no idea. Like, I literally am an encyclopedia when it comes to drama in this space. Okay. So it's like, you just open me up, flip to a certain page, and you can find it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just
I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Oh my gosh. Where can people find you?
I'm Ryan Geddie, RyanGeddie. That's me everywhere. My primary platform is YouTube. I don't really post on Twitter. I've been trying to get off short form social media, but I occasionally post on Twitter and Blue Sky. But yeah, YouTube's the main place, frankly. That's
awesome.
Ryan Geddie, and there's a little picture of my face, side profile. So
yeah,
that's how you'll.
No, look, I love your backdrop. Your backdrop looks really nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I sort of, I've sort of got a theme for each. This is sort of the fantastical corner. This is this used to be the French corner, but now it's the European corner because I added the bear from London. Yeah. This is my University of Texas cubby because that's where I went to college.
Oh my God! Wait, how old are you? I'm curious. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Very nice. I'm 26.
I can't see your facial reactions. I haven't been able to see your camera actually this whole time.
Oh, thank God. Okay, don't worry. Okay, it's better if you don't see it. Okay.
Okay. But yeah. So I've got some, just various stuff over here. Very fun. The background's fun.
That dude, you are the smartest 24-year-old I've ever met. What the fuck?
Nah, don't know about that.
No.
Liberal. I don't know.
Maybe the second smartest.
I appreciate it. Maybe the second smartest.
Maybe the second smartest. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's very nice chatting with. I gave you channel perms, by the way. So anytime you want to come in here and talk about something, feel free to hop in. Okay.
All right.
I love chatting about things. And listen, you're amazing content. Okay. Everybody loves you. All right. So you're always welcome here in my server as well. All right. Feel free to chat in there. I really do appreciate that. Okay.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much thank you, chat, for putting up with me arguing with your person here. And
no, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right. Farewell. Yes. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that was awesome. That was actually awesome. That guy, dude, he is so bright. I don't get me wrong, okay? I disagree with him, okay? I do disagree with him majorly on some points, right? But I admire him, okay? Listen, I'm gonna be totally real with you. He's my boy, okay? You know how Pisco is always like, Hutch, he's my boy. That's me, okay? He's my boy, all right? He's my boy. But that was actually really fun.